ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 21, Conversation between Manu and Kardama. So, we are in the final section of this chapter, where Bindu Sarovar is beautifully described. And we are at text 54. Yeah, please continue.
The institution of 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas is confirmed herewith to be Bhagavad Rachita, which means designed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, this is also confirmed, Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. The Lord says that the institution of 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas is created by me. Anything created by the Lord cannot be closed or covered. Divisions of Varnas and Ashramas will continue to exist either in their original form or in degraded form. But because they are created by the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be extinguished. They are like the sun, a creation of God, and therefore will remain. Either covered by clouds or in a clear sky, the sun will continue to exist. Similarly, when the Varnashrama system becomes degraded, it appears as a hereditary caste system. Every society caste system. But in every society, there is an intelligent class of men, a material class, a mercantile class, and a laborer class. When they are regulated for cooperation among communities according to the Vedic principles, then there is peace and spiritual advancement. But when there is hatred and malpractice and mutual mistrust in the caste system, the whole system becomes degraded. And as stated herein, it creates a deplorable state. At the present moment, the entire world is in the deplorable condition because of giving rights to so many interests. This is due to the degradation of the 4 castes of Varnas and Ashramas. Hare Krishna.
Now, Srila Prabhupada focuses on Bhagavad Rachita Varnashrama. So, whole the context here is Kardama Muni says, my dear Swayambhu Manu, because you are acting in your position, therefore, the Varnashrama system is being maintained, which is Bhagavad Rachita, which is personally constructed, Rachita, by the Supreme Lord. So, further, Srila Prabhupada explains that the institution of 4 Varna and the 4 Ashrama is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvarnam Maya Srishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashah. So, Lord says, Maya Srishtam. This is my system. Right, Maya Srishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagashah, based on Guna and the Karma. And because it is created by the Supreme, it will always exist. One may hate it, one may like it, whatever it is, because it is created by Supreme, it will always exist. In fact, in the society which wanted to create a classless society, typical Soviet Russia, Russian Union. So, and then within that classless society, the Marx talked about classless society, but within that class, there was always, the superior class always existed. Prabhupada writes very beautifully. Prabhupada says, everyone wants to create equal society, and then there is a fight for the post of dictatorship. In 1984, this Animal Farm, very beautiful book. And they talked about this. All are equal and some are more equal. Why? Because this has to happen. It is just like Prabhupada says, sun is created by the Supreme Lord, moon is created by the Supreme Lord. They will always exist. They are creation of God. They will always exist. Similarly, Varnashram is also creation of God, and it will always exist either in its pure form or in the degraded form. Now I have so many friends across, and I have friends in Dalit movement and other things. In our discussion we always troll them. We say that of course we're speaking with all dignity and honor here, but still a pot shot is that you talked about classless society, and the mission of Ambedkar ji is now taken forward by another Ambedkar only. So is it not a Vamshavad? People are speechless. They just cannot speak anything, right? Why? Because Varnashram will always exist. It's a very important thing. Sun may be covered by cloud in the sky, but sun will continue to exist. So similarly, because it is creation of God, Prabhupada says the real society was always meant for Guna Karma Vibhagashaha, keeping Krishna in the center. And ISKCON is trying to do that. Daivi Varnashram. Right. In ISKCON, we award Brahman initiation to anybody and everybody who qualifies themselves by Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. There is no Jati Bhed, no Rashtra Bhed, no Dharma Bhed. A born Muslim can become Brahmana in ISKCON. Right. If he is qualified and proves his qualification by performance of devotional service. Otherwise, the state is in a deplorable state. And at the present moment, Prabhupada says, the entire world is in a deplorable condition. And therefore, one has to follow the instructions of the Lord, arrange the society accordingly, not divide the society, arrange the society accordingly, and then one can hope for some more peace in the society. Text 55. Adharmascha samedheta lolupair vyankushanair nurvi shayani tvai lokoyam dasyugasyo vinakshati. Translation.
Translation: if you gave up all thought of the world's situation, unrighteousness would flourish, for men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack and the world would perish. Purport: because the scientific division of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams is now being extinguished, the entire world is being governed by unwanted men who have no training in religion, politics, or social order, and it is in a very deplorable condition. In the institution of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams, there are regular training principles for the different classes of men. Just as in the modern age, there is a necessity for engineers, medical practitioners, and electricians, and they are properly trained in different scientific institutions. Similarly, in former times, the higher social orders, namely the intelligent class, the Brahmanas, the ruling class, the Kshatriyas, and the mercantile class, the Vaishyas, were properly trained. Bhagavad Gita describes the duties of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudras. When there is no such training, one simply claims that because he is born in a Brahmin or Kshatriya family, he is therefore a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, even though he performs the duties of a Shudra. Such undue claims to being a higher caste man make the system of scientific social order into a caste system, completely degrading the original system. Thus, society is now in chaos, and there is neither peace nor prosperity. It is clearly stated herein that unless there is the vigilance of a strong king, impious, unqualified men will claim a certain status in society, and that will make the social order perish. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, what a terrific verse this is. Adharmascha samedhete is saying, Kardamamuni says, if you give up all thought of the world situation and you are so-called absorbed in the spiritual life, unrighteousness would flourish. For men who hanker only after money would be unopposed, and such miscreants would attack, and the world would perish. So this is when we are in the society, when we are part of the society, we have to do our functioning extremely well. Otherwise, one may be thinking, I am doing my japa, I am doing my chanting, I am doing my some extra spiritual life, but the world will go to hell and you will be responsible for that. I have one small personal realization of this. When I became very new counselor, so I had this thought, because in our one of the Shadu Goswami, Gopal Bhattu Goswami, he never saw any fault in anyone. And then we were supposed to train devotees. We were supposed to train devotees means basically you have to find out what is lacking in them and you have to train them. So inherent, you cannot train without finding fault, right? So once I was having this thought, let us not find fault only with people. Just like Gopal Bhattu Goswami, we also just remain like that. And so I had this question for a long time, and there was His Holiness Jayadvait Swami Maharaj was sitting on Vyasasan, and he gave Bhagavatam class, and he is world famous as the question answer Acharya in ISKCON, right? Amazing answers he will give, amazing answers, very short, I mean. So I asked him this question. I said, Maharaj, sometimes I feel I'm in the position of a counselor and we have to train people. Let us not find fault with people and let them, continue. And I gave this example, this and that. Maharaj, he gave such a stunning one-line answer. He said, yeah, that's good. You will enjoy the sense gratification of being a pure devotee and your followers will go to hell. Next question. That one line answer. You will enjoy the sense gratification of being a pure devotee and your followers will go to hell. Kardama Muni is exactly saying the same thing. If you give up all thought of the world situation, unrighteousness would flourish. For men who hanker only after money would be unopposed, right? And such miscreants would attack and world will completely perish. And therefore somebody will say, then what? If you are holding a social position, you have to do 110% justice to that position. If you are a teacher, if you are a programmer, you cannot cut short your material duty in the name of spiritual life. This is very important. Many times devotees have this hackneyed understanding of spiritual life that, and they will quote some scripture also here and there. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hai. Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hai is for your spiritual emancipation. That nothing more is required once you do Krishna Bhakti. But when you are holding a position, taking a salary, one has to perform one's 110% at one's position. Otherwise, heavy karma will bind. Right? One of the awkward example of this, and of course, why awkward? Because he was positioned to set up this example, is Bhishma, Pitamaha Bhishma. And he's one of the Mahajan, he's one of the greatest devotee of the Lord. But through his positioning, it is displayed that if one is in a position and if one doesn't correct and brings the thing on the right course of action, then one will not be spared. Right? So another example is Vidura, where Vidura always tried to correct his action. His position was limited. He was younger brother of Dhritarashtra. His position was limited. He was junior in the position. But whatever there was available in the position, Vidura always did. And therefore, this is very important for devotees to understand. Sometimes we get carried away by so-called spiritual talk, so-called spiritual advancement, and mistake material duty as a burden. No. If you think material duty as a burden, give up that position. Don't take that salary. Don't have that position. If you are a father, you behave like a father. Right? Otherwise, don't have a child. Don't think your child is a burden in Krishna consciousness. Similarly, your job is a burden in Krishna consciousness. When you are taking salary, you have to do 110%. And that is entire teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Many times people, they just forget Bhagavad Gita, right? And directly jump to Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam paradigm will never erase Bhagavad Gita paradigm. It's very important. Correct? So whatever said in Bhagavad Gita, yukta ahara viharasya, yukta chestasya karmasu, simply by we becoming devotee and we go against these rules of Bhagavad Gita, the laws of material nature will heavily act. And therefore, what a verse he says here. Okay, right. Amazing verse. Is glorifying Kardama Muni, who has renounced the world, sitting in meditation 10,000 years. And here he sees world emperor. World emperor means, just imagine kitna headache hoga unke piche, what all things he has to manage and do. And he's glorifying the world emperor that because of you, the world is not going to hell. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, the scientific division of Varna and Ashrama is now getting extinguished. Why? Because there is no training, proper training in Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Just like in the modern times, there is a training for being engineer, medicine, or for law, accounts, finance. There is a very, very systematic training. One cannot just, any upstart just cannot say, I am now civil engineer, I will start constructing bridge. You cannot manage 100 rupees unless you are, a qualified financial professional or something like that. But anybody can become guru and anybody. So previously it was not like that. Prabhupada says there was a system, and the Gurukul ensured that person is either set and trained as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra. Progressively, by the advent of Kali Yuga, the entire Varnashram was degraded into caste system, right? And people started to claim the position simply by the virtue of birth and not by the virtue of their qualification, and the whole system collapsed, right? And now there is, Prabhupada says, neither there is a peace nor there is a prosperity. And therefore, and Prabhupada says, it is clearly stated herein that unless there is vigilance of a strong king, impious, unqualified men will claim the certain status in society, and that will make the social order perish. So this is very, very important. I mean, such a golden verse this is. And Prabhupada writes, diamond-like purport here. Very important, especially for devotees, very, very important, this verse is. Text 56. Why? Because many times, even within devotee circles, our, our advancement is also judged by number of rounds that we are chanting, which is a very important criteria. How deeply we are absorbed in spiritual life, which is an important criteria. But that is not at the cost of one's social, personal, material duties, so-called material. For a devotee, nothing is material, nothing is spiritual. Prabhupada says this, right? Like for an engineer, there is nothing called as hot electricity or cold electricity. He will use the same electricity in a fridge, he will use the same electricity in the geyser and produce the desired result. Similarly, for a devotee, there is nothing called as material life of a devotee and spiritual life of a devotee. His contribution to the society is also spiritual. Apparently, he may be managing society, just like here, Swayambhu Manu is managing the entire affairs of entire universe and is being aptly glorified by Kardama Muni. Text 56. Athapi pruche tvam veera yatharda tvamihagatah tvadvayam nirvyalikena pratipadyamahe hrida. Translation.
In spite of all this, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here. Whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation. Purport. When a guest comes to a friend's house, it is understood that there is some special purpose. Kardama Muni could understand that such a great king as Swayambhuva, although traveling to inspect the condition of his kingdom, must have had some special purpose to come to his hermitage. Thus, he prepared himself to fulfill the king's desire. Formerly, it was customary that the sages used to go to the kings, and the kings used to visit the sages in their hermitages. Each was glad to fulfill the other's purpose. This reciprocal relationship is called Bhakti Karya. There is nice verse describing the relationship of mutual beneficial interest between the Brahmana and Kshatriya. Kshatram Dvijatvam. Kshatram means the royal order and Dvijatvam means the Brahmanical order. The two were meant for mutual interest. The royal order would give protection to the Brahmanas for the cultivation of spiritual advancement in society, and the Brahmanas would give their valuable instruction to the royal order on how the state and the citizens can gradually be elevated in spiritual perfection. The Saint Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 21st chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Conversation between Manu and Kardama.
Further, Kardama Muni says, in spite of all this, O Veera, O valiant king, you are visiting my place. So there must be some purpose in your mind why you are visiting my place. Whatever it may be, I will carry it out without any reservations. Now, Kardama Muni knows what is the purpose, and Swayambhu Muni doesn't know what that Kardama Muni knows the purpose, because the Supreme Lord has appeared in front of Kardama Muni, and he has already foretold that day after tomorrow, Swayambhu Manu personally would be coming to you. So he knows the purpose. Still, as a matter of etiquette, he's asking, what is the purpose, my dear sir? I will execute your purpose. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, when a guest goes to a friend's house, there has to be some special purpose. Here, Kardama Muni could understand that such a great personality has arrived here. There must be some very special purpose for his coming to the hermitage. And thus he was prepared to fulfill the desire of the king. Prabhupada says, formerly, many sages used to visit the palaces of the king. We have the example of Vishwamitra Muni coming to Dasharath Maharaj. Then there is Ashtavakra Muni coming to Dasharath Maharaj. And you know that when Ashtavakra Muni came, everybody began to laugh because he was Ashtavakra. He was bent at 8 position. And Ashtavakra Muni just casually asked, all these people, casually asked the king. He said that, my dear king, I was thinking that you must have had qualified ministers, but I don't think anybody here more qualified than, a cobbler who is simply interested in the quality of the skin. And then everybody became, very awkward position. And then there is a nice question answer. So previously, this, the saintly people used to visit, and kings also used to treat them very happily, right? Now, recently we have seen that when Rama Janmabhoomi, Shilanyas, and then temple opening was happening, very ideal combination of Kshatriya and the saints was being there, right? Two are meant for each other. The royal order will give protection to the Brahmanas for the cultivation of the spiritual advancement, and Brahmanas will give their valuable instruction to the royal order. And then citizens will be perpetually benefited and elevated in their spiritual understanding. So this is how Kardama Muni is ready to take the instructions of Manu and is ready to follow the instructions of Manu. So we will conclude here, slightly concluding early today and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Prabhupada. Thank you,
Prabhupada.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Everyone, Hare Krishna.